Welcome back to Dorks on Sports, podcast about four dorks talking about sports. The Seahawks had a bye week. We had a bye week. Curtis, it's great to see your face. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm on about 4 hours of sleep because I stayed up like an idiot.
Your Madden team is doing well.
Yeah, well, my Seahawks aren't winning, so I've blown the whole damn thing up, and I'm in the 2022 season right now, and I'm killing it.
How'd they do?
Because I've adopted the West Coast spread up here in the Seattle to fit Russell Wilson, and I've gotten them a defensive line that can get to the quarterback. So they're scoring and they're sacking. It's
Jody
fun.
Allen, if you're listening, Curtis is available to
I've got ideas.
Seahawks head coach. Billy, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for asking.
I always have to know how are the fantasy teams doing?
Oh, hey, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Dynasty team continues to dominate. I've still only lost one game all season, and once again had the high score for the week. So feeling real good about that. I am, however, pretty sure that I'm now officially out of any sort of playoff contention in my Folger Fantasy League. Which just really hurts my heart as a 3-time champion. And in our, usual smack talk section, it's weird. I'm not used to being on the bottom for this long. And
neither are the Seahawks.
Right. I'm very much, I understand, because I say things like, maybe this is the week I snap my 6-game losing streak, and it's crickets. When you're bragging and you're trash talking, people are, all about it. But when you're like, hey guys, maybe this is my week, and there's just nothing. There's no response. There's no somebody putting me down, but nobody else is building me up. I'm posting my own memes about myself. And Magic 8-ball prediction, not so outlook, not so good, and no one's laughing, and I'm just like, oh, come on.
No one
even cares about my losing.
It's so bad that nobody cares. And so so with the new week, with 17 weeks, what are the implications of that in a fantasy football schedule?
I think really it just drives everything over one more week, because of most
fantasy football is got an extra week
early. Most fantasy schedules don't go to the final week, partially because
sometimes players are sitting and stuff.
So usually most fantasy championships are the week before the final week. So I think that's basically all that happened. In both of my leagues, is things just got pushed an extra week.
Just like
and in one of my leagues we have 2 divisions, and in the Dynasty League we don't do divisions. So there's differences between the two. But when you're in 12th place and you've only won 2 games, at this point in the season,
kind of doesn't matter.
Pretty much done. So I'll just root on my longtime folks who have been there, and watch where once again the newest owner magically makes it really far. It's a strange league that way, but they're great people and I really enjoy playing with them. So I love that league. I'm sad to be in the bottom, but I love that league.
But at least you got a winning one. Alana, how are you doing over there?
I would refer to this year as or this day as Meeting Apocalypse 2021. I've had 6 meetings today, and they're all very long.
And we're just another in a long line of scheduled meetings.
Yes, but this one, I get to talk at all of them and be audacious, and this one I can be audacious and fun. So
right,
it's a win-win for everybody.
Good. Who didn't win? The Seahawks. So we're coming out of the bye week. We got some new juice. Russell Wilson's coming back. We got some new energy. We're ready to go into the second half of this season and push for that playoff spot. And we come out and we get shut out for the first time in the Russell Wilson era. And to make matters worse, we have to watch Aaron Rodgers' stupid fucking smirk on TV.
God, it was just, and the cameras were just like, I mean, they were just waiting for it.
And he
I
played
swear to God, there is not another team in the NFL that dude doesn't want to beat more than the Seattle Seahawks. He has it out for Russell Wilson in the worst way. I think it goes clear back to when Russell was playing for Wisconsin, and everybody in that state was loving that dude because, you know, he was lighting the nation on fire with his efficiency and everything. And fucking yeah, I mean, you know, he's
It
been
wasn't even a
compared
good game for Aaron Rodgers. I think
No.
that's
It
what
wasn't.
hurts even more.
No, he
Yeah,
wasn't.
totally.
He was not. He was. It was a very. It was a great opportunity to beat Aaron Rodgers. He
It was a
not
supreme
involved in
opportunity.
that.
So this leads me to my first question, Millie. I'm going to ask the question that I think the national media is afraid to ask. Would Geno Smith have given the Seahawks a better chance to win that game?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to think so too. That it's not a knock on Russell. I think some of it was maybe some shaking off some rust from just being out of the game schedule and stuff like that for whatever it was, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. How long was he out? I think that finger was bothering him. And I don't think the cold weather in Green Bay helped that.
No, and we got shut out. So I feel like that is a real indicator. I mean, when you say, you know, could Geno have done different? It's not like, you know, would he have gotten 3 touchdowns instead of 2 and won the game? Right. It's would he, if he was in the game, would we have been more conservative, which is what I said. You can go to the group chat multiple times. Take the points. You take those field goals. That first, first.
And why are we chasing these? Yeah, and why are we chasing long passes
on a defense that is asking us to run? Like that was the thing. We ran 10 times. They sent out a defense that was like, "Go ahead and run." And then, but Russell's not taking snaps under center. Russell isn't handing off the ball because he's worried about his finger. They ran 10 times. Like,
yeah, and look. What are the plays that are actually working against this defense?
The
are the run and the throws to the tight ends.
Yeah.
And we do that like 2 times, and then we keep chasing the long plays with DK and Tyler. It was the most frustrating thing I have ever felt, I think, in a Pete Carroll game. I tend to agree. I think Geno would have given us a better chance. It would have been low scoring. He would have at least kept that offense on the field a little bit longer so that, you know, the defense, the only reason Green Bay even got 17 points is because the offense kept coughing the ball back up to Green Bay. It was frustrating. But so the other question going into this game was the defense in the past few weeks had looked much improved. Of course, the asterisk and caveat to that is that the offenses they had been playing weren't the most potent in the NFL. So this was the first real challenge. This is Aaron Rodgers playing. He's playing good ball this year. Green Bay has a great offense, and the defense went in and held them to 17 points. Alana, what did you see?
Oh, I just saw a defense that was playing together as a team, and then they had each other's back. I thought it was Jamal Adams, probably his best game in Seattle. And it was funny. I was listening to 710 over the week, and I think Stacy was there. Not Stacy. I'm thinking of Jake and Stacy. Whoever it is that's on at 10 o'clock was talking about how she thought that Jamal Adams was going to pick off Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Stacey Ross.
Yeah, thank you, Stacey Ross. Not Jake and State, but the other. Yeah. Or no, it is Jake and State. God, I'm tired. So she was saying that you're not going to believe this, and then everybody was like, no, and he's like, I think no, don't say it. No, I think Jamal Adams is going to pick off Aaron Rodgers in the end zone. Don't say it, and that's exactly what happened. So it was fun to see that. But it was in a lot of ways a replay of that Tennessee game where we did see some solid defensive work at the start of the game, but because in the second half of that game and then in the whole game in this Green Bay game, our offense couldn't stay on the field. The defense just got worn down. And I think
Yeah.
that, to me, not seeing the run game happen at all, that was a clear indication of how Pete ball is supposed to work, right? You run, and then the defense doesn't get gassed, and you
Right.
stay on the field, and the defense doesn't get gassed, so they can make big plays at the end of the game or throughout
It's
the
like
game.
it's not even like the defense even getting gassed. It's that when you give them that much minutes in possession, they
Yeah.
just have that much more opportunity to do something.
Well,
Like we
and,
just
I mean,
keep
but they were
giving the ball back to them.
both of their touchdowns were running plays from their backup.
Yeah.
Their
Yes.
Dylan. It wasn't even Aaron Jones. Like,
Right.
it was their backup. I mean, and he's a good running back. Don't get me wrong. But like, and they were in the
Trapped
second
Bobby
half.
Wagner into the end zone on that
Yeah.
second one.
That was
one of the
embarrassing.
hardest
And they
things
were
to
all
watch.
and most of his runs in the second half were him getting like barreled by like 4 players and still getting an additional 4 or 5 yards. So
Yeah.
they were tired. They were gassed. They
Mhm.
were not tackling a regular sized running back.
Yeah.
And it was because they were on the field so much. So like, we've been talking a lot about how Waldron needs to command the offense. And I still agree with that. But you can kind of see a little bit of what Pete's saying when he's saying we need to run the ball more. It's because he wants to keep the offense on the field so that the defense doesn't get totally tired by the end of the game.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I 100% agree with
Yeah.
that. I think a lot of that also goes back to the fact that we keep chasing these long bombs instead of just taking what the defense has given us.
Absolutely.
If we check down to Gerald Everett for 6 yards, then we can run on second down. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Which he was doing at times. I mean, Russ, when the 2 drives that got us into the red zone, Russ was going up tempo. He was mixing it up. There was a good flow between run and pass. It seemed like he was
creative play calling.
When he got us that win down in San Francisco, Russ had that command
Mhm.
of the up-tempo offense, and they were heading in that direction. It's just, it was that stupid flea flicker play that got
didn't
blown out
understand
and
that,
snuffed out, and then he got sacked, I think, the very next play, and so that was a wasted opportunity. And the other time they did it, God, I think was it at the start of the second half or something, but that was when he threw the pick as he was going for DK in the end zone, and that was just Russ making a really bad decision.
It was just a stupid
I
decision.
think that I was pretty hard on Russ, in my blog piece the next day, and I pretty much put the entire blame on him. But as I started to listen to, Mike Holmgren's observations on KJR 950 on Monday morning, like he was really kind of calling out play calling and saying that, like, he wasn't seeing anything from Waldron that was dialing up enough short passes.
I didn't either. I
and
completely
stuff.
agree.
So I don't. So where
Especially
I would
for a
sit there and
quarterback
watch
coming-
the game, and I'm thinking this is Russ chasing deep plays. I'm now sort of thinking, like, is this just another year, much like last year, where there's just no identity with this offense? Like this offense doesn't know what it's doing.
This
You
is
know,
my biggest criticism of this offense is that it's so Jekyll and Hyde. Like there are moments we have these drives where it does have an identity and everything is clicking and you're like, yes, like that is how the offense can operate. And if it was consistent like that,
Yeah.
every time we had the ball, we could be winning a lot of games, but we only get like 2 or 3 drives of those kinds of plays a game, and then the rest of the time it's just kind of like floundering around. It feels like they're just kind of making it up as they go along, and I don't know where that's coming from. Is that
I actually got a theory on this.
I'm willing to hear
the theory, I think, is that the Waldron hiring was a compromise between what
Pete and
Pete
Russ.
Carroll's vision and what his, preferred way of going about the offense is, featuring the run game. And and Russell's preferences of going up tempo and having more creative play designs in the passing game. I think what Russ really probably wanted more of was more out of the Andy Reid style of
that's 100% what he wants.
Wide open offense. I don't think that fits Carroll's aesthetic, and so this compromise, which sounds great, and I was excited about it. Like, oh, this should make both of them happy. Maybe compromise isn't.
Yeah,
is kind of it's kind of led us down sort of a dark sort of dead end road where like this just sort of feels like that this offense is the result of is almost kind of like a child in between two separating parents.
I agree.
Getting pulled in two different directions. That was just sort of my thought I was going with today.
Yeah, I think so too. And I tend to think Waldron wants to go more up tempo. Russell's preferred. I think
Schottenheimer wanted to do it last year too. And I can almost guarantee that Bevel a few years ago, back in 2015, when Russell was tearing it up after Jimmy Graham went down and all this talk about Russell not being able to throw over the middle of the field. Well, what hasn't Russell had for the last few years? He hasn't had Jimmy Graham. He hasn't had Doug Baldwin. Guess what Doug Baldwin was? He was like the premier slot receiver in the league. Russ doesn't have that. That's why he was wanting Odell Beckham Jr. this year. That's why he wanted Antonio Brown last year. Russ is asking for things that this team just isn't, for whatever reasons, isn't delivering for him. And so it's this really weird in between place I think they're on offensively. It'll be interesting to see how they can figure it out.
Well, I don't know. And now we got another big game coming up next week, and they kind of have to take what they learned from Green Bay and pull that into Arizona. So, Alana, what are our chances? What do you think?
Is Murray back?
I'm not 100% certain right now.
Okay.
I don't think that's been determined yet. I think that's totally day to day.
I mean, they did just lose to, who was it? I'm blanking.
They beat up on him pretty good. I think it was the
not the Saints. Oh God. Well, they did just lose Carolina. Yeah.
Carolina whipped them up. Yeah.
Yeah. Which will be a nice transition later to talk about other things. But I think we got to, I'm eternal optimist here, right? I think this game showed to Wilson what he can and cannot do, right? I think that he is, and maybe over the week he'll figure out how to do some of the things he wanted to do, but couldn't. I remain an optimist. I think we're gonna win. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think that we're getting an Arizona team without JJ Watt, without a 100% Kyler Murray.
I think so. Like, even if Kyler Murray plays, he's going to be hobbled, and that's kind of like his whole game. So I think even if Kyler plays, we got a decent shot.
Yeah. Do I think the offense is going to be fixed? No. But I think it's going to be like 20-13.
Yeah.
Just so you know, what I'm reading right now is they're expecting him to play.
Okay.
So it has started to lean toward him actually playing, which is good, but he's definitely hobbled.
Is Hopkins playing?
Well, now I have to go look that up. So
talk
about
sorry.
something else.
Yeah. Putting up 0 points is a first for this offense. And in this offense, even though it lacks an identity and can get stymied for long periods of a game, can still put up some points. I mean, like this offense can score some points. So I tend to I'm also an eternal optimist, but I also look at the statistics that this season has been giving us, and so far that Green Bay game is an anomaly. And I think we can expect something a little closer to what that offense had been doing, prior. I mean, even with Geno Smith, the offense was putting up some points. So I don't know. What do you think, Millie?
Well, first of all, no idea with Hopkins.
Okay.
It's really up in the air, according to my sources who will remain unnamed. But what's interesting in looking at my sources, when I read about Murray and Hopkins, is how much credit they're now giving to the Seahawks for their ability to defend passing touchdowns. So they've really, over the last 5 weeks, they've really proven that that is a place that other teams aren't going to win, is with passing touchdowns. So that's a big deal. And that's something I think to be excited about. I think we all have seen, our first few episodes, we talked a lot about how frustrating and disappointing this defense was. And now they every week have improved to the point that they're the most exciting thing about this team.
Yeah.
I think with the Cardinals, it is really going to come down to who's the quarterback. Going into this, their running game is uneven and also a bit of an unknown, which also makes it hard to defend. And we're not great against the run. So,
or screens.
Yeah. I mean, this is just really hard. Colt McCoy is also not 100%. So we have an opportunity to win this game. Sadly, a lot of that opportunity comes from a hobbled team. But,
which, I'll take.
Okay.
I mean,
right? I mean, we took out a slightly hobbled Aaron Rodgers and we could have put him under. You know, once again, we managed to take out a major threat from a team, which, also did hurt my fantasy team. The exit of Aaron Jones, who is out for at least a couple weeks. We often seem to eliminate a threat and still aren't able to capitalize on that. Not that I think that's a good thing, because I don't ever wish harm or injury on other players. But when you look at your statistics and realize you've taken out a big threat at some point in the game, you really have to factor that in as to the upside of that. And we still can't manage to capitalize. That's another big red flag to me.
Huge red flag.
But this is be an interesting game, and there's just so many unknowns. I don't know what's going to happen.
Even though Seattle's only won 3 games so far, we're still in the playoff hunt.
We're not out of it.
We're not out of it, and we still got a pretty good shot. If you look at averages and statistics.
Thank you, San Francisco.
I know. My question to you, Curtis, is it realistic? Is it realistic? Do you see a playoff caliber team?
No, not right now. No, I think they'll be extremely fortunate if they get to 8 wins. I think that they can be interesting towards the end. You know what? They've had things go wrong for them that almost right from the get-go, with the Eskridge being out. I think he was going to be the slot receiver that was going to do all the fancy motion stuff.
Yeah.
Carson, is just, he's a big physical guy made of glass. He's
always good for being out half the season.
Not anticipating he's going to be back at all. It just feels weird. It has that weird sort of vibe to it. And then for the first time ever, Russ was out for a month. And, that was the Green Bay thing. I'm just going to call that a mulligan straight up. That was, I saw that as I would have preferred Russ to just not playing that game, just because I would have preferred to see him have a little bit more of a soft landing with an opponent. I think Arizona at home would have been a better place to start him. I get it that it's hard to say no to Russ, and I think Pete probably looked at Geno and just Geno throws some nice tight spirals, but he can't evade pressure, and he doesn't have that sort of, he just doesn't have that kind of moxie magic that Russell does.
Which you even saw Russ in that Green Bay game picking up some first downs with his feet and doing all that
he's a
ridiculous
playmaker.
stuff.
That's what he is. He's one of the best playmakers in the league. So I get why they made the decision to go with him, but I'm gonna say that that's an away field that Russ has never had success in, and he's played a lot of games there, and they've always looked fairly ugly for him. And that was when he was healthy. And the other thing is I think Waldron is still figuring out how to use Russ. I mean, when he was designing pass plays for Jared Goff, Goff isn't a great quarterback, but he's 6'4", and he sees over the center, over the middle of the field, and a lot of those passes would go to those areas. So I just think like Waldron's trying to figure out how to appease Russ, how to appease Pete, how to coach a quarterback that is as unique as Russ is. And they did Zoom meetings for the off season and the mini camps as opposed to meet. I mean, McVay and Shanahan were doing live practices when when Russ and the rest of the whole entire team was just doing walkthrough meetings on Zoom. And so that's kind of silly in retrospect. And I feel like, long story short, no, I don't think it's going to be a playoff season. I think they're going to win this weekend. I do. I think.
All right. So give me a score.
I think that Russ is going to have a bounce back game, and I think they're catching Arizona at the right time. I'm going to say Seattle's going to win 28-23.
All right, Alana, give me a score.
Oh, I already said 20-13.
20-13.
Seattle.
Millie, who do you got?
Well, I'm writing it down for the dork board. Who do I got? Man, I just don't know enough about what's going to happen in this game.
Like any of us.
Yeah, but usually I feel like I've got a feeling, right?
Yeah.
And for the record, Curtis and I chose them to lose last week. So yay for us.
Congratulations.
But oh man, I just don't see it. I think the Cardinals win. I think it's a low scoring game. I'm going to call it 13-10.
All right. I do think I have a good feeling about this one. I think the Seahawks are going to go in and steal one. I'm going to say it is 24-17 Seahawks.
I love your all's optimism, and I hope you're right.
It's the only thing I got. All right. Well, there were a lot of really fun stuff that happened around the NFL. My favorite was the 49ers stealing one from the Rams.
That was nice.
And again, we have Stafford playing like Stafford. I don't know when the media is going to finally give up on this one. They still really want him to win that MVP, but boy, oh boy, he's not looking great right now. OBJ did nothing to give him anything. In fact, it looked like, he ran a wrong route to cause one of those interceptions. Yeah, but that was really fun to watch. Tampa losing to Washington was also kind of fun to watch.
I just want to call out the fact that I feel really, really, really bad for Detroit, where they might actually not lose every game this year, but still go 0-16 and 1 because of the extra game. And that would be the third time that they have 16 losses in a single season. Like it's bad. It's so
what
bad.
are they gonna do? It's like this.
Well, and I actually really like Dan Campbell. Like
he's amusing.
He's so hilarious. He's like, we're gonna bite their kneecaps or whatever.
Yeah, that was
That
awesome.
was a fun game to watch. I mean, so many times it's like, yes, oh, they're gonna do it. And then
You just have to imagine, like, as a Lions fan, watching that kicker shank that ball by like 100 yards. Like, that is just the most demoralizing thing to watch. If
That's one of
your
those moments
team.
where you're like, well, I could make that miss.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And Goff, I mean, like, it makes you want to root for Goff, even though he's terrible.
Oh, that old
You know,
sad team.
I've never had it out for Goff. I don't think he's a particularly good quarterback. But you know, I sort of feel like, you know, he's not yeah. He's just in a bad situation. I mean, he's in the
just in a bad
situation that
situation.
like Stafford was desperate to leave.
But also, it was the Steelers. So it was like, of all the teams, you were just like, yes, I want the Lions to beat the Steelers. Do it, do it, do it. And
Oh my
they
God.
just couldn't. And it just hurt. It hurt.
Just right in the heart.
But it was fun to watch, as was that 49ers game, I have to say.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I can't ever root for the 49ers. I'll never under any circumstance of root for the 49ers. But if they're going to trounce a team,
Listen,
that's the team I don't mind seeing them
49ers.
trounce.
I won't root for the 49ers. I will 100% root against the Rams.
I am absolutely rooting for chaos to happen.
Oh,
When
yeah.
I know my
Yeah.
team's out of it. Like, there's just
Right,
not a
right.
realistic chance.
Now I
that,
just
you know,
want to see the NFL burn.
I
The
want
only thing Go ahead.
the I'm just gonna say quickly, the Rams traded their whole entire draft to go in this year.
And this is it.
Yeah, they're like old dudes. And
right.
I want to see a Rams free fall, like just just lose out.
The primary things I want right now is for Green Bay not to make the Super Bowl, for
Yeah.
Tennessee or Buffalo to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I like those two teams.
I like Tennessee. Yeah.
And then, then for Tampa Bay and the Rams to fall apart.
Both the wheels are coming off both their wagons.
Yeah.
And it's
And it's
delightful
like,
to
oh
watch.
God, they're just so good.
I'll say to the chaos thing too. I hadn't caught many of these this year or last year for that matter, but I always enjoyed the comedian segments on the Fox broadcast before the football starts on Sunday, whatever their Fox, Sunday
Yeah.
football.
Is that Rob Riggle now?
It's not
No,
Rob
it's
Riggle
not.
anymore. And I can't think of what his name is, but it's a new guy. And I've only seen a couple because I don't catch that broadcast very often, but I did catch it this week. And it's worth finding because it's very funny. And it's basically him with a puppet who is very much a Muppet, discussing what the word parody means, defining the word parody and what parody means this season in the NFL, which it's the chaos of it, right? Is this any given Sunday and the parody that has happened this season. But he's a Rams fan, and he and the puppet just have a really glorious moment towards the end that I know all of you dorks would super appreciate because we all love our puppets and Muppets. But that one's worth checking out. I can't think of the comedian's name, but it's the NFL Fox Sunday broadcast.
Yeah. Well, the other surprise we had this week was Cam Newton returning back to his home team in Carolina and putting up some points and pulling out a win. Millie, you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
I gotta say, I really enjoyed the return of Cam Newton. If for no other reason than Mama Meckler, who is not a football fan, who does not do football, but who lives in North Carolina. She loves Cam Newton. My mom could care less about football, but when the Carolina Panthers were going to the Super Bowl, she was watching. And it was that thing, it's that bandwagon thing that happens in any city or state where all of a sudden everyone just gets really swept up in it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was so fun, mostly when my mom got really excited about Cam Newton, and she loved everything about him. She loved the style and the swagger and the way he talked big. And of course, being a Seahawks fan, I was like, no. But if you can remove yourself a little bit, it's like, yeah, he's fun because when he is winning, you can appreciate all of that swagger. And I had a moment with him a few years ago because I did feel like he really walked that line for me of being too big for his britches, is the best way I can explain that.
Sure.
Yeah, the Super Bowl.
And
year.
then he
Yeah.
had his car accident,
Hmm.
and there was suddenly this very different, very human change that I
Mhm.
noticed in Cam Newton. And while it may have hurt his physical ability a little bit in the game, I think it changed his personality in a small way that I really noticed and made me like and appreciate Cam Newton more. And I was sad to see him sort of fall out. And the excitement he had to come back to Carolina
Yeah.
and be with those people and be with those fans. And then to have him come in, and I had said, they're just going to bring him in on a drive, like maybe 5 yards from the end zone, and he's just going to run it in. Because, I mean, what other place is he going to know 3 days on this team or whatever it was? And it's exactly what happened. And it just made my heart so happy. And then they did it again, and he threw a touchdown. I mean, he created all these new records for, first game as, to
Yeah.
the touchdowns, and your first pass is a touchdown, your first run is a touchdown. But his love of playing for that city and those fans was just palpable, and I loved every minute of it. And I
did too. I love a good redemption story. He looked like he was having the time of his life. Like, it looked like he was having fun again. I know he got flagged for it, but I didn't mind the penalty when he popped that helmet off and screamed, "I'm back." Like,
That was awesome.
that was awesome. Take the penalty. Yeah,
and
that's
so much better than
good.
I own you.
Yeah.
Yes.
God.
Yeah. I'll
That's
take
it.
that over an Aaron Rodgers smirk any day of the week. Yeah. Anyway, I wish him the best. I think, he deserves it. And so does that city. So I think that's really fun. I'd like to move on into some dorking. I'll start.
It out.
We're going to dork some out. I don't have a lot I want to talk about. The thing I want to dork out about is 2 TV shows I've been waiting all year for.
Oh yeah.
Are premiering this week. And we got Cowboy Bebop, the live action Cowboy Bebop on Netflix is dropping on the 19th. And Amazon Prime has the epic Wheel of Time series that is coming in. I was a huge Wheel of Time fan in the 90s. That was like the high fantasy I cut my teeth on as a 13-year-old kid. I have no expectations for this TV show. I think that the TV show, as it should, is going to take a lot of liberties. That book is just giant in scope and gets very meandering at times, and is very dated in terms of its gender politics. And I'm hoping a lot of that gets cleaned up. But I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah. So we got some dorky stuff for me that's coming out. Cowboy Bebop looks great, and I'm super excited for it. Alana, give me
I
something
want to
dorky.
add one more to next weekend, or 2 more bits to next weekend, then 2 more that I'm actively or have actively involved or enjoyed. Also coming out next weekend is season 2 of The Great on Hulu. If you didn't see season 1, it was phenomenal. It was hilarious. It was a costume drama for people who don't like costume dramas. I would encourage you to take a drink of whatever you have in a glass cup, throw it on the ground, and say huzzah, because that is a common theme throughout it. And it was fantastic. I highly recommend the first season. Beth and I, it's among our most anticipated series of the year. Also coming out this weekend is Tick Tick Boom. I've heard very good things about it.
Yes,
and
right.
It is filled with theater cameos.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, including Bradley Whitford playing Stephen Sondheim.
Love it.
To me, it's just like, oh God, that's hilarious and great. So there's all that. I just wanted to mention 2 things that I have seen. One of which is The Harder They Fall, which is a Western that is populated entirely by Black actors.
Is that with the one with Idris Elba and
it's
Lakeith
Idris
Stanfield?
Elba.
Yeah,
and Regina King and Zazie Beetz and
it looks
Lakeith
terrific.
and Jonathan Majors, among others, Dion Cole, Delroy Lindo. It is clear that they had it's such an audaciously filmed movie. It's, like all those standard Western tropes, like where you've got the long shadows or you've got the two men standing off on opposite sides of the main sides of the main street in town, and you do like a slow zoom in. They do all that. He does all those poses. He holds on to that, and he does it in such a large, audacious way. And the story is essentially Kill Bill. And fuck Quentin Tarantino, but the way they told the story in this narrative was perfect, and it was just so entertaining and such a full world. And when they engage with the white world, they walk into a town, every building is just alabaster white. They go into a bank and it's just alabaster white. Everyone is just standing in the bank. They're not engaging with one another. They are so white. These people are just so white. And these Black people walk in, and it's such well done commentary in those moments. But it was a really enjoyable movie. I highly recommend it. Very fun, but also meaningful.
And I just want to interject that I enjoyed that at the very beginning of that, it says, this is not a true story, but these people absolutely existed.
Right.
And that was just a great way to start it off. Like, by the way, this is real in the way that all Westerns are real and based in fact.
Absolutely. And then the other one that I wanted to shout out is We're Here on HBO Max. It is Beth referred to it as a spinoff of RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't think of it that way. I don't like drag. I'm not interested in that as an art form very much. I have always found Bob the drag queen to be amusing and entertaining. And they are one of the hosts of this show alongside Shangela and Eureka. I forgot their last name, but it is a story about three drag queens who go into a small city and they put on a drag show with members of that community who fit various roles. So like one episode, the episode that turned me on to it was filmed in Evansville, Indiana, which is where I went to college. And it is a town that I know the attitude of very well. There's a reason I didn't come out while I was in college, and it's because I was in Evansville, Indiana. But they pull in a pastor who has a pansexual daughter who is interested in learning more and being more engaged with the LGBTQ community as an ally. It is a lesbian couple who has been fighting for queer rights for the entirety of their marriage. And they are deciding to get married on stage. And it is a Tunisian expat who accepted a scholarship to the first college that he got into, which is the University of Evansville, where I went to college. And he is gay and cannot go back to his country and has claimed asylum in the United States. And they get them all together and they put on a drag show.
That's
and
fantastic.
I fucking wept like 4 times. And then we watched an additional 2 or 3 episodes, and I wept through all of those because it is designed to make you cry. It is so heartwarming. They go to Twin Falls, Idaho. They go to a place in South Dakota, places in South Carolina. They go all over the country in these small communities and just like bring the love and the drag, and it's great.
That's great. Well, there you go. Check it out. I think I might. Curtis, what do you got?
I've been watching a lot of football and playing Madden. But I did stream through a show with my family. So I've got family entertainment to provide the listeners and viewers. Doogie Kame Aloha MD on the Disney Plus channel is a great reinvention of the classic 1990 Doogie Howser MD show. And it does sort of a play. I mean, it's sort of, yeah, if you were a modest fan of that television show, that iconic television show, and you got the Disney Plus, don't be geeked out that like someone's trying to reinvent the wheel for this Polynesian girl. She's fantastic in this. I mean, the casting of this gal. I mean, from the very first episode, you buy into the teenager angst. And then when she goes into full on like MD mode, she's just quick.
Does she keep a blog, or is it like a
yeah,
vlog?
yeah. At the end of it, she does this online blog thing where she's
Yeah.
talking. It's almost kind of like a TikTok type thing.
That's
It's
perfect.
got it's got one of my favorite '90s actors in it. It's got Jason Scott Lee's in it. It's got my friend Ray. Y'all know Ray. He a local actor guy. Loves to do the comedy. He turned me on to this Asian American actor, David Shang, our comic. He's on there. He's funny as fuck on a kid's show, on a family show. And he's a really good actor. I thoroughly
great.
enjoyed it. Henry, my 3-year-old, enjoyed it. I think it's the first thing I've sat down and watched with the three of us here where it's just like, it just grabbed everyone's attention. Yeah.
Perfect. Curtis's review for family show on Disney Plus. Funny as fuck.
Well, I wouldn't say it was funny as fuck, but fuck's pretty funny.
Millie, what do you got for us?
Well, I actually just consumed way too quickly season 2 of the Nancy Drew reboot when I discovered that it is on HBO Max, my new pastime. And I stumbled on the first season when it first aired and ended up setting my DVR to catch it every week because it's a CW show, so it's not it's not easily on demand. There's only so many episodes that they'll keep on cable,
right?
And there's so many episodes they'll keep on CW, so you kind of have to stay on top of it. And I did when it first came out, and I just loved the first season. It was such a great modern reboot, and this blending of the traditional, Nancy Drew, she's going to solve the crimes, and bringing in sort of a supernatural element and questioning if that's real, and then just totally going, yeah, no, it's real, and that's actually what our show is, and in a way that really works. And I was like, oh man, by the time I realized season 2 had rolled out, it was too far along. I never got to watch it. And then I discovered it was on HBO Max, and just tore through it. Didn't mean to, it just kind of happened. As happens with things that you binge. And I guess season 3 is airing right now. I went and checked, and darn it if they aren't on season 2 or episode 2 of season 3. So I missed my window. I'll have to wait for season 3 to come on HBO Max. But I just think it's good. It's a bit of a tween young adult drama, but at the same time, it hits me in all the right places. And I really like it. And then I would say the other thing is I just started his Dark Materials, and I don't know how I feel about it. I never read those books, but these first couple episodes are rough. So if you want to tell me to stop, tell me to stop.
Yeah, stop.
I haven't.
It doesn't capture the spirit of the books. It doesn't go anywhere. The acting is mediocre, and the world is not well filled out in the way the books are.
It's really dark.
Yeah. The books are dark. The books,
okay.
The books are basically like, hey kids, there's no God. Did you know that? That's the entire theme of the series.
Oof. Okay.
And I'm fine with that. Go for it. Work your thing, Queen. But there's just a magic to the books that is
Okay.
completely lost in the series.
So lucky for
I-
me, there's Wheel of Time, which I know nothing about, so I'm excited about. And
The
one thing
Expanse.
we didn't mention, which is
The Expanse, the new season of The Expanse. Yes, yeah.
and the return of Star Trek Discovery.
And the return of Star Trek Discovery, which I'm also a giant fan of and very much looking forward to. Yeah. Oh man.
Lots to dork out over in the next.
So
There are
much
so
to
many shows
dork
right now
out on.
coming out.
And then meanwhile, I'm dorking out about Succession, but that's for another
Yeah.
podcast.
I just caught the brand new trailer, the official trailer for Spider-Man: No Way Home, and I did fist pumps.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Yes.
I think
Spider-Man is my guy. Like,
I
fully.
love
And I
watching
get
grown
rather
men
than
dork out over Spider-Man.
multiverse.
rather than having a theme song, we need to record that and just have it be Chris.
Yeah. There you go. I like it. All right.
KJ Wright was Spider-Man. I miss KJ Wright. Why didn't they sign KJ Wright?
Because God is dead and no one cares. Go check out Curtis's blog, 12life.com. It's great stuff. And then we're here every Wednesday, except last Wednesday, but we're here every Wednesday. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube, wherever you want to get your podcasts, you can find us there. And tell your friends. Once again, my name is Daniel. For Alana, Curtis, Millie, and the rest of the 12s, saying goodbye and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Let Russ cook.